Cancelled.
Schweezy.
All right, so the newest season of You on Netflix just dropped, and for this show, I make a lot of sacrifices for Cancel Schweezy. I have decided that I would binge the whole thing an entire night, and now I'm going to talk to you about it for the show, obviously. For the show,
This is the type of guy you get.
So I initially did this for the show, and now I'm going to sit here and talk to you about it. I didn't do it for any other reason other than this show. So, my backstory, season 3, we're talking about season 3 today. I initially watched the show when season 2, I believe, was already out or just came out. So I watched that season 1, and, you finish that season, it has a pretty brutal ending to season 1. And then I just immediately went into season 2. I'm like, I need to process season 1 until I can move on to season 2 after I'm watching it. It's just moving on, things is normal. So that's a good suggestion. If you have not watched You, between each season, you need some time to process this. You can't just binge. If you can binge it, you might be a psychopath. Just saying, you might be a psychopath. I don't get to make those rules. It's just what happens. I'm sorry.
This is the type of guy you get.
So, anyways, though, so I had to take a break for watch season 2. Then eventually, finally got to start watching season 2. Watched it, and then season 3 came out, and your boy had to binge it in one sitting. So, so that's what I did, and so it's a very intense show. A lot going on. For if you have a soul, you can feel bad for the characters in the show, which is a very weird thing for me to be emotional about characters on TV, because then I watch shows like My 600 Pound Life, and I'm like, this is funny. So anyways, so I'm gonna bring up the premise of the show, and how am I going to bring up the premise of this show? I'm gonna read exactly what's on Wikipedia. So, let's just go into it. The first season follows the story of Joe Goldberg, a bookstore manager in New York, who upon meeting Guinevere Beck, an aspiring writer, becomes infatuated with her. He feeds his toxic obsession using social media and other technology to track her presence and remove obstacles to their romance. In the second season, Joe Goldberg moves from New York to Los Angeles to escape his past and start over with a new identity. When he meets avid chef Love Quinn, Joe begins falling into his old patterns of obsession and violence. As Joe attempts to forge a new love in the city of angels, he strives to make his relationship with Love succeed at all costs to avoid the fate of his past romantic endeavors. And now season 3, which like I said, I binge watched the entire thing in one sitting. In the third season, Joe and Love are married and raising their newborn son, Henry, in the Californian suburb of Madre Linda. As their relationship dynamic takes a new turn, Joe continues to repeat the cycle of obsession with a burgeoning interest in Natalie, the next-door neighbor. This time, Love will flip the script to ensure that her dream of having the perfect family will not be torn away so easily by Joe's compulsive actions. So yeah, that's basically the show. Joe basically will stalk a woman nonstop and then remove obstacles in the way, which is a very great word to say. I'll go over things in the first season as examples, but after that, I'm not spoiling anything else. I'm going to spoil a little bit of the first season. It's been out for a couple years now, so you can shut the fuck up, and if you have any problems with that...
Pretty bold of you little fucks to assume that I'm not God.
So, so in the first season, he's infatuated with Guinevere Beck, or just Beck for short, and she's kind of in this on-again, off-again type situation with this fuckboy named Benji. Now, Benji his parents are rich, so you know the type. We all know the type, and he... basically, it's a craft soda company, I think he wants to start. It's pretty fucking... It's a very much making fun of millennials. Anyways, so Joe takes it upon himself to kidnap him and put him inside this weird cage. Now, the cage is a very big thing for the show. So basically when Joe had the bookstore, what the cage was is where you kept limited edition, very nice copies of books. That it was like room controlled, completely silent, so you couldn't hear anything outside of it. Bulletproof as well. So if you tried to shoot the glass, it would just ricochet and could hurt yourself. It's kind of goes. So he traps Benji in this thing, and eventually Benji's like, oh, I have a peanut allergy. I'm addicted to Coke and everything. So like, eventually he decides to kill Benji. I don't know why he's keeping him in the cage. I don't know why he just kill him immediately. And so like eventually he puts like a cup of peanut oil in his coffee or a soy latte, I believe it is, and then he dies. He's like, oh, I guess you were right about that peanut allergy. Then eventually he fixes everything, and basically like he's on his phone posting shit for a couple days, and then eventually Benji just disappears off the face of the earth, not relating to, and somehow Joe gets away with it too, which is he does murder people in the show. People get murdered in the show, so. And, like, they always get away with it. I just assume, I always just assume they get caught pretty easily. But apparently, you can get away with murder. But I think Joe learned this from books, not from Googling it. So I think that's how he won. Anyways, though. So basically, it's basically moment in season 1. So he removes obstacles by killing them and stalking and shit like that. So, yeah. So he's a cool guy. A very cool guy. And anyone who decides to get... And at some point, like, people will catch him in what he does, and then you're like, oh, they're dead. And I'll just be like, you know what? And that's another thing with me, though. If I see someone doing something illegal or whatever, and I'm like, they could probably kill me or whatever, I'm like, you know what? This is not my problem. I'm going to run away. I'm not calling the cops, not getting them involved. I'm just, you know what? If I see something illegal, I'm like, I'm out. I'm not dealing with this. I'm not calling the cops or anything. But
this is the type of guy you get.
You know, because like one thing is like I don't want to get involved, and that's always wonder like when people like come across dead bodies in like the forest or whatever, like they have to get involved and they have to call the cops and they have to get like their story of how they found it, yada yada yada, you know, all that stuff. I'm like, if I'm hiking in the woods, which means hell has frozen over. If I'm hiking in the woods and I see a dead body, I am just walking and moving on. Like, this is not my problem. Like, that sounds like a lot of things I'm going to have to do in the meantime. So I'm going to ignore it and hope no one saw me ignoring it, because if someone sees me with it, then I have to fucking do something. But now I'm like, you know what? This is not my problem. I'm not getting involved with this. But some people could think this is a shitty thing of me to do. But guess what?
This is the type of guy you get.
So... sounds like your problem, not mine. So, sounds like your problem with me. Also, one thing with the season 3 episode of it, this isn't like a spoiler, so, because they put it at the beginning of the episode before the episode happened, so this technically is not a spoiler. But they put like a warning about suicide, so if like you're sensitive to that, you know, be warned, it could be a little rough for you. I mean, like,
that's rough, buddy.
But for people who are sensitive to that shit, which I'm going to give Netflix the benefit of the doubt that their intentions were pure and they just wanted a good and just didn't want to like freak anyone out. So I'm going to give Netflix pretending that they're good. But for me, a genius. The entire time I was watching the episode, I was just thinking, you know, who is that person going to kill themselves? Is that person going to kill themselves? So it's like a good and bad thing. It's like, are you going to kill yourself? No, maybe not you. Or how about that guy? Is he going to kill himself? Then eventually the person in the episode kills himself. And I'm like, oh, made sense that you would kill yourself in the show. But just a little warning, don't kill yourself, folks. That's, I will say that. Don't kill yourself, okay? You heard it from me, so if you do it, you went against my word. And that is the worst thing you could ever do. So here's the weird thing about the show I always think about. Joe Goldberg, which, a reminder, Frank is up. Oh, he's just under the bed. The weird thing is Joe actually did get someone on TikTok with, who's Joe? And I'm like, Joe Mama. Got him. Oh, but anyways, though, there he is. I think Frank's just being dramatic, or I don't know what he's gonna do. He's gonna try to sit in my lap and be obnoxious. But no, the big thing with Joe is that Joe Mama, Joe Mama. The weird thing with Joe is he's the protagonist of this show, technically. But I've always kind of in my mind put down that like protagonists are good guys, but like you're rooting for Joe. And one convenient thing about this show is he has a lot of plot armor. Until they announce a final season, I'm like, well, he might die. He might die finally. But no, it's like an interesting concept of like your protagonist is the bad guy because you want him to get away with everything. It's like, it's similar to Walter White from Breaking Bad, where he is like, he technically starts out as a good guy and he's just like making meth just to help him pay for his cancer treatment. But then you get to like near the end of the season, like he turns into a bad human.
This is the type of guy you get.
So Frank is just walking around, but no, Joe, like he's terrible from the start. And you realize this the moment he starts stalking Guinevere Beck in the season 1. But Joe's just terrible from the start. He like stalks his victim. We'll call them victims. He stalks his victims, keeps mementos, and then he just believes that women owe him. She's like, Beck, you deserve me, and I owe you, and you deserve to be. You have to be with me with all this shit I'm doing for you, or whatever. It's like our fairy tale endings. I'm like, it's pretty freaky, but yeah, no, it's really funny. He's like a nice guy. But the problem with him being a nice guy, trademark, is that Penn Badgley, the actor who plays Joe phenomenally, and he's like, you have to go to a dark spot to act as him. He's just a terrific actor. So it'd be weird to see him in public. I'm like, oh, Mike, are you going to kill me or my wife or whatever? No. Are we going to the same girl? Because you can just have her. No, he's probably a really nice guy in real life. I have not met him, folks. So I can't assume he is. But one of the things is, though, men who stalk women don't act like him. He's a very handsome man. Women, he does not actually need to stalk women on the show. That's just him. They kind of get into it like his mommy issues in season 3. But regardless, though, yeah, he has some problems, and he's too handsome to be like that. And guys who are that handsome don't usually have that problem. So, hey, thank you for checking out that highlight from Cancel Schweezy. Now, I hope your brain cells don't hurt. We got more highlights available now everywhere. We also got more full episodes as well. If you want to watch a full episode of Cancel Schweezy, available now, right here, right now, available now. If you liked everything, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you get notified when new highlights and episodes come up. And leave a comment, like, and stay awesome.